zoomed in kind of as much as I can, and there's a herd of deer over there. Not moving, they're quite stationary. Bless them. Just got to get across this road. Here we go. Across this little brook thing here. Yep. I think regular viewers at channel will probably recognise where I am. Oh, one of my favourite little walks today, up to Oxstones and onto the Oxstones Trig, which is the reason that I'm making today's video. Not the Oxstones Trig specifically, but another Peak District Trig. But I'll talk to you about that when we get up top. I might actually have to take my hoodie off. I'm bleeding roasting. Current buns out big time. Oh, it was raining about half an hour ago. There's the Oxstones, and you can just see the trig point there. Thankfully this one's still there. Someone stood up on Oxstones, loving life. And it took me hoodie off a minute ago. I've had to put it back on. I'm bleeding freezing. Here we are at Oxstones. And just before we walk onto Trig, I'll just spin the camera around and let you have a look at one thing I've done a couple of videos on. This is the site of the Lady Canning's plantation wildfire. It wiped out pretty much all this side at Moorland. And if you look back on a few previous videos of me visiting up here, you'll see how black and charred it was. There were nothing but black ground that you could see, and it's healing ever so well. I think it's about 18 months ago now. You know, 18 months to start repairing. All for the sake of one, you know, some moron coming up here with one of them disposable barbecues, and you know, there's plenty of other ways you can cook outside, much more responsibly. So, but what's done's done. There's nothing we can do about it, and as I've just shown you, it is healing. We are getting there. But one thing that's not going to heal is the next thing I'm going to talk to you about. So let's get on to Trig Point. Here we are coming up to Oxstones Trig Point. Nice, because this is the trig that I've bagged second most in my life. I mentioned it before, Whitwell Moor being the one that, I don't know, into the hundreds. And here we are, Oxstones. Let's just grab it. Bagged. Now what I've just done there, bagging the Oxstones Trig Point, is a privilege that a lot of us are now not going to have for the Chinley Churn Trig Point. Oh, that's a bit better. We're out of wind. Now there's a little seat area like round here that I think we can make some use of. Yeah, I'm just seated in the little rock formation across from the Oxstones. I don't know if this counts as Oxstones or not. But yes, the Chinley Churn Trig has gone. I don't know whether it's been destroyed or ripped out, but it seems that the farmer, who were quite well documented as very unfriendly and very unwilling to allow people onto land to bag the trig, has had enough. And whether he should have been there or not, one of the members of the Glorious Peak District group this morning reported that he'd been up and the trig is no longer there. The last log on Trig Point in UK as well also says that the trig is no longer visible from the wall and the fence, and that it's not there anymore. So we've lost Chinley Churn, we've lost another one, which is a shame. Does that make the Peak District 88 Trig Challenge 87 Trig Challenge. I think it has to, because unlike some of the others, unlike Bowl Hill that's been moved and just tipped over, Lantern Pike that's been moved and tipped over, the Edge, yes, the Edge up on Kinder, where the original trig point were. I don't know if it was actually the Edge trig point that's there. I think it's one of the older Kinder ones that's just like lobbed next to it. But there are, you know, is it High Rake that's damaged and there's just a little stump left, you know, rather than a full trig point. Now they all still count towards the challenge, you know, and Chinley Churn's not actually there anymore, so I do believe we are down to an 87 trig pillar challenge for the Peak District, which is a real shame. Now I do wonder about these kind of things. Obviously we're on private land. Should people have been going over to it? You know, I see Farmer's Point. I wouldn't want people in my garden. You know, I wouldn't want people, you know, around my house, around my property, not randomly. So I can honestly see it. You know, I can. But then on flip side, the trig points are such a massive part of this nation's, you know, countryside. There's the trig challenges. There's the, you know, county trig challenges. The park trig challenges. There's such a big part of history. You know, the first one went in 1936. We're coming up to 100 years since, you know, well, I know we're 12 years away still, but, you know, we're going on, you know, a massive number of years that they've been part of this nation's landscape. You know, I grew up literally worshipping Whitwell Moor as, you know, like the centre of the universe. You know, the amount of times that I've been up there and bagged that trig, and the memories that it brings back, the camps that I had with my mates and the adventures that I had up at, and, you know, that surrounding area around that moorland are just irreplaceable. And probably without that white rock just been shoved in the middle of nowhere, and, you know, kind of, especially when I was young and not knowing what it was, it just, you know, it probably wouldn't have been the same. And I appreciate that Chinley Churn weren't public access, and, you know, people probably didn't frequent it as much as, you know, some other, and certainly not, you know, Mamtor and this one here, Ogstone's very popular. But I'm sure we could have worked, you know, some kind of workaround. And I'm not saying I should be one to make those decisions, you know, but I know the one at Sheen Hill, I believe that the landowner for Sheen Hill got either a full or a partial grant to make the permissive path. And since the permissive path went in, the land hasn't been damaged, the fences haven't been cut, you know, the barbed wire fences haven't been cut down, the walls haven't been knocked over, because people are not interested in doing that kind of thing. They just want to get to trig point. Yeah, so Chinley Churn gone. 87 trigs left in the challenge. It was one I ain't actually bagged neither. I've never had the privilege of going over to it. I've done the Chinley Churn Ethel on the high ground, but I've never actually got to trig point. Suppose I'm not gonna now neither. Which is a bit of a shame. You know, I ain't got a great deal else to say really, you know, a little bit upset, a little bit of disbelief. You know, I don't, and I also, not that I'm anyone, but did anyone attempt to talk to Farmer about a permissive path? You know, I'm sure some will have. You know, I say if you read the Trig Point in UK logs, he didn't seem particularly interested. It's a bit of a shame that they're no longer protected. I believe they stopped getting protected by the Ordnance Survey back in the 1990s, I think it was. And since then, I think we've lost somewhere in the region of over 1,000 trig points. I think there were 6,600 and odd to start with, and we're down under 5,500 now, I believe. And yet another one gone. So yeah, it's a sad day overall. But you know, I've had a reasonable walk and you know, a bit of an excuse for a YouTube video, why not, eh? And it's been a different one, this, just me rambling on for a hell of a long time. If you've made it this far in video, thanks a lot for persevering with me. I had a lot to say about not a lot of a topic, but you know, one that is I do feel quite closely to. So on a positive note, and this is probably the only positive I can get from it, but I am one trig close to completing the challenge now, since obviously I cannot bag Chinley Churn. Just passing back by the ox stones, and I'm going to head back down to my vehicle. I do hope the farmer has got the trig point on the back of his truck. I hope he's dragged it out full, because I've seen that done before. The Hampole Wood one were dragged out fully, and it would just put next to footpath, you know, and a relocation would be okay. I'd take that, but we'll see. So from myself and from the ox stones, we'll see you all later. Bye.